I'll call this meeting to order. This meeting is meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public meeting. There is time for public participation during this meeting as indicated in the agenda. On request to the superintendent, the district shall make reasonable accommodations for a person with disabilities to be able to participate in this meeting. Hopefully do a roll call, please.
Mr. Albright, Mr. Arnold, Brutterly here, Ms. Greaterx
Here.
Kangas
Here.
Mr. Lundy
Here.
Ms. Guerra.
Here. All right. Next on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. I'll move to approve the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approving the agenda as presented, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. All right, it's approved. We'll move on to public participation, seeing no one in the audience currently. Skip over that and somebody comes to the second one. All right, move on to our discussion, which is the wellness center purchase.
So we have closing scheduled for today. Don't have to do it like right now.
Dan as well.
Well.
You're gonna have to. Lights.
Oh, yeah.
Between Liberty and.
I heard that one. Everything's closed. Like there you can't, it's another summer, I'm not getting extra.
Or
Anywhere, yeah.
of course. If they're single.
I listen, I appreciate that, so everyone. Yeah, all at the same time. Use ways. Oh, yeah, there's so much better. It's easy to move on.
Go down Jackson Road, you was at C and see the signs. Parker Road detour.
Oh, yeah, right. You like popping into every classroom and saying, hi, Fran. Waiting.
Anyone.
Come on, where's your central
Emergency, sir.
We're in.
Oh, is it not public comment?
Go ahead. Already past that.
So so we have the closing scheduled for today, all the documents are set, everything's ready. The closing for the resolution to approve Sharon, Christie, myself to be able to move forward, outlined a series of conditions. And we have two that are not met at this time. One of them is the senior center purchase agreement, which we will be buying that building and just go through process. All done for. And then the agreement to dissolve the condo association, which is going to take. There's a possibility it takes more time, it doesn't happen. So the condo association is parking lot here, condo space. But I'm still confident that after we get steps, get both the center purchase, get the senior center agreement done, then we.
So it's a slowing down of the process. So
Yeah, and there is risk that it won't happen, that we won't be able to dissolve the condo association. However, there has always been a risk.
My understanding with if we aren't able to dissolve the condo association, it's just that shared space. That doesn't have any impact on bond money potentially in the future as to the group and the structure of the wellness center, which is significant. Okay.
we're still home.
And with respect to the senior center, my understanding is city ordinance is the issue.
Yeah, they're working through their own process, so they have an ordinance that's supposed to be a door. facing Baker Road. They have a process to be able to get it that way. They have an internal process on approving the door.
Yeah,
But council approved it to move forward with the door.
yeah, I've been with planning, they have, city council. Mayor said, that door is the stupidest idea I ever heard of. I'm sorry, I apologize for not having the ordinance. It's set a stage for them to change the ordinance. Whether that's the quickest way for us to, I don't know. Yeah, but, we had, everybody understands that the door, the entrance makes absolutely no sense. The lawyer,
It's cosmetic only, correct? It would be cosmetic only.
Well,
Well,
they thought
that-
they wanted walkable, walk sidewalk to go to the senior center, you don't want it walking up a sidewalk here, no, we own all the property here. So nobody's walking up here, going up 5 or 6 steps to get to the door to the senior.
It would walk.
The vote at the council was 6-1, and the 6 all that we can resolve it out. But and there's probably 3 different paths, so it's a matter of figuring out what's the most economical expeditions.
That's fair. Thanks for
They
attending those.
they're all support the design as it is, but they listen to their attorney, said people do stuff that they don't need done.
Who's going to challenge that? Like, what's the actual?
So-
They could have done it, and they chose not to. And because they've set up a couple other paths in their mind.
The short, they approved the plans to go forward, but requiring it for, Michelle from the city said she had the administrative ability to approve whatever that number is. The drawings have to go, really get started, the zoning board appeals, and actually they can set a hearing, they need like 4 days to be able to ask for variance, and then variance right after. So meanwhile, we just keep turning the look. The downside is spending money in architectural drawings and construction drawings. And it's just money,
And time.
but it'll happen. Steve's still on, what you said, he's still on pace for May,
Still planning to put shovel in the ground and
so we're still.
My understanding is the seniors have to be out
Today,
today. Well, technically Tuesday, right? Right. So that's why we. Just because sure everybody.
so they can move it over.
The city.
No, it's the seniors.
The seniors.
Senior center into the old ATI space at the. They can, it's not ADA compliant.
It's not.
Oh.
No. What,
They don't have the right to do it.
But I think that it's important to remember that one of our commitments has been to support the seniors, to do our best to have a space for them. And so having this meeting for this discussion to move this process along, in an important way, is also to remember that if we say no, everything gets delayed and seniors don't have space on Monday or Tuesday. So I think that that's important to consider, because that has been something we've talked about, and really is what's pushing this whole project forward, is something to do for the seniors, as it is their grant this year, and authority to move this along.
And
Why
when
can't
we look at,
why can't we even without her? They don't release.
the lease is with us.
And we don't have the piece to that fact. So what are people's concerns then about?
I got a legal question. I think on the letter came to people, this all this stuff, I found that at the very end, it gives us 2 high level, I put it in the text, but they outline 2, the only was 2, they say 2 options, right? The ability to withdraw or postpone the purchase of so I don't think we want to do those. And so, I mean, are they saying that, to make sure from a legal point of view, that your advice?
they're always looking at what the risk is.
No, I understand, I
So the
understand.
risk is that we can't dissolve the condo association or something called part of the senior center. The funds require us to build, to create a senior center. We've already drawn down $5.5 million in funds. And the rest we have to spend, we have to do seniors. So.
Right.
And we're so far along in that process, so it's, Steve put a shovel in it,
So,
but an attorney needs to make sure that.
but there really is, so they should have actually put it out for changing the purchase. As a plan.
Well, we already can do that, so I think we're just offering additional options
okay.
to us.
I just want to make sure I read
That's why they're just legally covering
that. I understand.
Yeah, they're giving you
I've
all
never
the
seen a
advice.
30-year have a downside risk.
Yeah, well, a lawyer would be doing their job if they didn't point out all of your options and risks. They are never gonna tell you which
Still
ones to
bad.
do.
And if we end up paying for the door, we end up going and paying for the door, which may or may not happen.
The doors
No,
are
we're
not
not.
gonna happen.
I'm just saying,
We're gonna pay for
If-
20 of the students.
okay, but that ends up, the extra money ends up on seniors, their extra money or from wherever we got funds.
Well,
It's not out of the pot.
And
Well,
the seniors have been getting grants, and
Right,
they're,
that's
they are
what
being
I'm saying.
very
So it's-
diligent, right, Dick,
so
about
it does-
fundraising and granting.
There's opportunities, they've already got it.
I'm trying to say it does not affect, please, does not affect our school budget. It affects the
None of the
grants,
school.
funding that seniors have raised, none of it. I mean, I just want to make sure I'm straight on all this stuff, and then, on the dissolving association, right? Steve doesn't want to move forward after it's dissolved, that he's saying.
We have a bunch of, there's tenants in the other building, there's city requirements, there's a bunch of hoops that we gotta work.
The lawyers are only pointing out that may not have that impact. on the buildings.
So if we can't dissolve it, the purchase probably won't get it.
We're not dissolving.
Right. But then we will be the main tenant association.
At some point.
Right, so we can.
We'll have voting power,
We're
it's just
talking
limits what
like-
we can do with
So
bonds.
to back it up, Dan, the process is that Steve is building the building, we will purchase the building from Steve, and then we will be the major property owners, and then
Like about 80%.
the condominium association will be dissolved.
Yeah, if we don't.
So those are the conditions, and that's where there's a whole process that we have to follow. And the attorney is just pointing out that this is a risk, and if everybody doesn't fall in line, then there's a risk. However, we know that as a community, and we've talked, like Mr. Sharon has done a lot of work talking and having meetings with people, that we do have good faith in that this will happen. Legal side of it is that they have to come out and say there is risk. And of course, there is risk, but we feel confident, or people who have done all of the meetings with the people involved have all good faith that this will happen and nobody's gonna pull a billionaire type.
I
I
mean,
understand, I'm just saying.
Let's go back, my understanding, the risk is that the schools may not own the common area. We still own the buildings and all the land and stuff like that. And if we don't own the common area, then we don't have absolute irrevocable control over how to maintain the common area. That's the only risk. It's on the
I have
common
a
area.
parking lot, right?
Right.
Yeah, parking is required.
And the retention,
But as
retention
the,
in the water.
yeah, but as the legal, eventually, as the majority, 80%. Legal part, it's all legal legally, you can dictate. Who pays what.
Let us my question, what is the percentage required to dissolve?
Well, there's challenges with it. And there's a complexity, so like the owners of the other unit 3, they also, in order to dissolve, their lenders have to approve. I mean, there's a lot more hoops
Like this does.
I can just back up to how we got kind of here. In the letter of intent with Steve Brower, we indicated initially that we needed to have the dissolution document in escrow. Steve's concern is, once all of this plays out, he knows the city's behavior, historical behavior, and his concern is that he finishes a building that we, in our initial purchase agreement with him, said the condo had to be dissolved before we were gonna close on it. He didn't wanna be stuck not being able to close on a $3 million building because of city bureaucracy, right? So that was why he wanted that waived out of the purchase agreement, which is why he was holding off on signing the purchase agreement, was because we had in there that we wouldn't buy the building unless the condo were dissolved. So we said, okay, well, we'll take that part out of that. But in our purchase of the wellness center, we had in our purchase agreement that we had to already have a purchase agreement with Steve and the condo dissolution. So we had all these different conditions that we hoped would come together, and I mean, we're just trying to cram it through in a very short period.
We have to back some money.
Just we can waive the conditions. We're gonna wait, we can waive the conditions. Now, on the condo dissolution part, everyone is in general agreement that, okay, they don't care to have a condo association and it's across the board. Once we drew up all the plans, here's parcel A, here's parcel B, everybody was like, nope, this looks really good. But then once the attorneys had to start thinking through the title flow, the title flow does things like we dissolve the condo, which means that all of the common areas become tenants in common. So every owner of all the units become tenant in common ownership of all of the common areas. And then if that transfers back to the owners of the pharmacy building of Unit 3 in a smaller confined space, their concern was an uncapping of the value of their property. So with no trust of city officials, say for example, someone paid $100,000 for one of their sub-units in that building, and right now the city says, well, we think it's worth 400. Their concern is that their taxes are gonna go from 100,000 to 400, taxes on, right? So we met with the city, right? Our attorney, Steve's attorney, the city's attorney, Shell and Justin, we sat down and met like a week ago. And we talked through the different transfers, and they have, which I need to get back in writing to them, but they've indicated that, well, there's no risk on the unit itself, that any uncapping would happen on that little sliver of parking lot, which they're going from a larger ownership, 20% ownership of all of the common area, to what is like only about 9 or 10% of all of that common area. So there's even a potential that their common area taxable value will be lower than it is now, but those are calculations, and we want to get an appraisal, and we need to do all those things. And it's really about, there's no trust, including myself, that the city will do the right thing. And so that's really what held up, we would have had all of that done if there hadn't been enough attorney minds in the room on Steve's side and our side to go, okay, this is now the transfers titles that have to happen to undo that association. If the association is not undone through normal channels, once we close and we own both parcels, it's just a simple majority vote that we could dissolve the condo association. But all that does is puts everything as tenants in common. So then there's not this distinguishing, parcel A gets that parking lot and they maintain it. We could have a separate, as part of us choosing to dissolve the association, we can go to the owners of that and say, you take care of this part and have a separate agreement. But then that does have broader ownership, that means we can't do anything to that parking lot. You know, we, exactly, we have control because we happen to have the majority of ownership, so we can do what we wanted.
But we don't have complete ownership because it's.
Exactly.
So then, the question about uncapping, I guess, you know, did they put that in writing that they will not, reassess the existing spaces? Because that does seem to be a logical flow, you know, if you are retitling property, that was trigger new reporting on the tax room, so I just.
So no, they're not gonna put anything in writing. I'm gonna follow up that meeting we had. I'm gonna follow up that meeting with here's what here's what we talked about. And it did make sense to all the attorneys because they're not transferring any ownership of their sub units. The only thing that's transferring ownership is their common outside the building. Nothing's happening with transfers of ownership of their units within. So that was, we even had the assessor in the room, Sherry, and so she was like, oh yeah, no, it'll just be the sliver. So we're gonna put that back in writing to them going, you know, here's, and so our way.
This project on, these are minor issues in my mind, and things that we can't solve soon, and for the solution, especially sounds like it's so far out, that was probably a pipe dream. We just didn't, so I think that makes.
Well,
That's a
actually,
goal,
but what happened was the city told us that the intent was these condo changes were gonna become an administrative decision, which means we hand them a thing, 2 to 3 weeks, we would have it'd just be.
I see, so we were led to believe something else.
Well, then the city council didn't pass the change from making it right now it has to go to planning commission, then it has to go to city council. If we want a waiver, we're gonna have to go to the CPA. So what was intended to slide through as being an administrative decision ended up, now it's a longer process at the city, but no one envisioned this uncapping thing, which is really the real.
Do you have regarding the SBA loan, do you have, do you have a relative confidence? Do the letter, like, the offer?
There's not paid off letter, it's not paid off yet, so they're given them a certain period of time to get that taken care of. And it's really not on, it wasn't on that particular equipment, that when they got the SBA loan, it was on their broader foundation, but because that, the equipment in there is kind of under that umbrella, that is, it just kind of broadly covers it. It doesn't cover the wellness center real property, just all of the foundation's personal property. So yes, that.
All asset finally not.
I'm sorry.
So all asset. Not just like this. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that was kind of popped out under the search that was done, and so they're going to get the discharge off of our equipment. And that money is held. They're not getting the money for it. It's going to be held in escrow until that letter. So that letter is received from that meeting. I'm releasing it.
So you do have a dollar amount associated with the release of that.
Yeah.
So we want to have separate presence. That's all.
We just need to have a vote on.
No, this was
No
just
vote.
discussion that we wanted to, good faith. I wanted to thank everybody for their great schedule. This is an important decision, the decision and discussion, and it needed to be done. but we want to make sure. Timeline, we don't want to get. Everybody else.
Well, to keep it with the, to keep it the cardinal rule of no surprises, so.
Yeah.
I think that to ensure, they want to make sure the board is fully informed of what the situation is. which is a little bit different.
I appreciate it. I mean, I think we have these conditions precedent, and I understand we passed a resolution that said we could for you to do what you needed to do to get to the closing, but we think that this is enough of a point of discussion that it merits our time. You're taking. I think she got really well.
All right, we'll move on from our discussion toward second opportunity of public participation. Still no one is running, so I am going to adjourn. Excellent. Great.
All right, so now tomorrow. I mean, Monday,